Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And I say that because we're a global show. So I want to make sure I'm hitting everybody in every continent. My name is Barbara J. Beckley, and I am one of the co-hosts of Let's Talk Fabulous Show today. I'm also a purpose and visibility strategist, but my main goal today and every Sunday I come on is really bringing the awesome panelists to talk about what our topic is. And today's topic we're going to talk about is, what do you look at as legacy? So are you leaving that legacy? And what is your definition of legacy? Because there are more than one. And we're going to find that out from our wonderful panelists. So let's talk fabulous. The magic of StreamYard. Thank you, everybody. Look at these wonderful faces. I'm just so glad and proud that I have these. And these people, oh, we have another one. There we go. See, I have all the wonderful panelists today. And you know what? I always reach out for people that really have a passion about the topic. And I'm telling you, these four kings and queen, because we got queens and we have a king today. You know, I call the lady queens and I call the men kings. Is going to talk about what is legacy to you. Are you leaving that legacy? And what is your definition of that? So, but before we get to that, I want to make sure that you get to meet these lovely faces. You're probably like, okay, Barbara, you're showing them. Who are they? Can we get a chance to introduce themselves? So we're going to start from top to bottom. I want to start with our king here, King Randy.
Hi there. I'm Randy Darr. I own a company north of St. Louis. I'm an independent soil scientist. We help farmers around the country help improve their soil health and all those aspects. We work in some 9 states, and we have done some work in some foreign countries. But I'm also a John Maxwell leadership trainer, and that's where this topic really hits home, is that being a leader and being an influence in our culture is very important to me.
Yes, definitely, King. And I'm so glad that you are here to share your wonderful wealth that you have. And our next queen, Ari, a regular queen.
Hi, Miss Barbara. So I'm Ari Wells. I'm author of Girl, You're Free. I'm also a part of Black Women Bossed Up. And we work with Zandra TV and Lachelle Atkins as well. So really, we just like to empower women. I'm all about women empowering women.
And she does that very well, very well. And our next queen.
Hi, my name is Natalie McQueen, and I'm from Canada originally and in Phoenix, Arizona now. I'm a book publisher, and I have a company called Gifts of Legacy. So this is a topic that is near and dear to me. I help families leave a legacy well-deserved and that will live on for generations.
Amazing, Queen. Thank you so much. And our other queen, Dr. Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Dr. Cheryl Bryant Bruce, MD, and I'm also known as the Celebrity Doc. I am a celebrity mental health and wellness expert, and an expert in midlife mastery. And our motto is health is wealth, and you are your greatest asset. Invest in your health.
Awesome. Thank you, Queen, so much for that. So now I want to, before we get into our lovely topic about legacy, I want all the people, because it's not only the panelists that are talking, but we have some wonderful comments, some in people that are commenting. They're part of the conversation. I always say that. We don't want to leave you out. So we want to just, our Mrs. Queen of Queens, Tamara L. Hunter, who created Let's Talk Fabulous. She's online. We have Carolyn Brown, Lisa Brown. Hello, Lisa. How you doing? And just, Erin. I haven't seen Erin in a while. Hello, Erin. Nice to see you. So we just want to say hello to everybody. Please get in the conversation. So before I start, I always want to do something just to break the ice. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with the topic, but this has something to do with what's coming up February 27th. And you know, I always look for different days that, I don't know, the world celebrates certain things, to the point of maybe it's pizza day to hot dog day. So I found out that it is Polar Bear Day, February.
Polar Bear Day.
Polar Bear Day. And I have a little clip so we can understand about this day. We'll be right back. See, you always learn something, you know. I was like, I didn't know they could swim 60 miles before they get tired. I'm like, wow, you know, if I could swim like a half a minute. I'm just being honest. But it's never, always ever learning, even with our animals. So celebrate Polar Bear Day on February 27th, then learn a little bit something about the bears. Okay, now back to our program in hand here, talking about legacy. So I want each panelist, each of my gurus here, each of my experts, I call them, to just go into just a little bit of what they see legacy is. Because I know a lot of times people talk about, okay, I'm leaving money, or, you know, my business, they got to make sure they leave it to, you know, their children or what have you. But I'm finding out, because I've been talking to people all this week, that there's other things that they do when they talk about legacy, not just thinking about that portion of it. So I want to get your take on that. So I want to start with, let's see, Dr. Cheryl, I'll start with you first.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously everybody thinks about financial health when they think about legacy, but we focus on a holistic approach where we approach everything. I think in terms of legacy, there are two big things that you want to leave. One, you want to leave behind a ton of love. It's all about relationships. And, you know, you cannot take the physical things with you. And even when you leave physical things behind, they get destroyed, a quick fire, whatever. And all of that is gone up in smoke. So, you know, physical, tangible things are important to leave, but however, they don't have the same kind of impact as when you leave love behind. The connections you make are what you are remembered by. The other very important thing to leave behind in terms of legacy is good health. And when I say that, you know, we all talk about our own health, but particularly for people of reproductive age, if you optimize your health, there are things called epigenes. And when we have poor health, those epigenes get turned on or off and put us into a state of inflammation where we either, you know, we can have disease processes like diabetes and high blood pressure. And what do we say? Oh, that's just my genetic predisposition. Everyone in my family has that. But we don't have to carry that forward. By changing our lifestyles, our diet, our exercise, we can actually turn off those bad genes. And guess what? Not only do you improve your health, but because you've turned off those bad genes, you don't pass them to the next generation. So by making changes in our lifestyle, we can affect generations to come and can completely change our genetic predisposition for disease within just 2 generations.
Ooh. Oh, wow. That was powerful. I love that, Dr. Cheryl, because like you said, first of all, the love. Every time I hear love, I get excited because that's what we really need to move forward and move into any kind of generation legacy. But then, like you said, the health, we don't have to call it as, okay, I have diabetes and everybody else had it, so let's just keep it moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere you down the line, you can just say to yourself, no, we're going to stop right here and figure this thing out. And why does it have to be in our legacy of our family doing that? Because I have people in my family say it all the time. Well, Barbara, you know, when you get a certain age, you're going to catch this. So be ready, because I've been having it for 50, 100 years. I'm like, the first thing I said to the show was like, well, why?
Yes, well, exactly. And I mean, in my family, we have high blood pressure, we have heart disease, we have diabetes, and people got it around 50-ish. Those things started showing up. Well, I'm 64 years old, and I do not have any of that. because I made lifestyle choices. Now, I will say, however, that I have been dealing with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, a type of cancer. I'm like the least likely person to get it. And people say, what happened? Well, there was a lifestyle choice that I didn't make, and that was to de-stress my life. And stress will kill you, and it results in inflammation and chronic diseases. And cancers are one of those things that you can run into if you don't make the lifestyle choices across the board. And minimizing that stress and getting enough sleep are two of the biggest things that you can do.
Yes, definitely. And, I always say, dealing with your health in any other area that could help you just build, like you said, your legacy, because you're still here, you're healthy, you're showing, you're being a lead by example. That's what I always say. So.
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Randy, what is your take on what legacy is to you?
Well, to me, legacy, everyone leaves a legacy, good or bad. I know people that are in the process of leaving a horrible legacy, and it's very disappointing. Have friends that are making bad choices, which in turn is going to give them a bad legacy. To make a good legacy is about having an impact on others and having that influence that helps benefit future generations. It can be tangible things, it can be wealth, but it can also be a mindset or this is how we do things in our family type of thing. I have two of those instances, which is, I think, why Barbara asked me to be on here, is I'm part of a legacy that my dad created. We have a small farm. I don't farm myself, but I work with farmers around the country. But we saved our farm back in the economic struggles of the late 80s in agriculture. And so today, my dad just passed away this past February 2nd. But he left me and my brother and sister that farm. And it's going to continue for over 100 years by the time the way it's set up is moved on. And then it will go to the Illinois FFA, the Future Farmers of America, what they once were called. But it will go to the Illinois FFA to have scholarship money for college kids studying agriculture. So I'm part of that legacy as my life. But I also own a company, and I'm building a legacy, not only for my company, because I'm starting the process of my son-in-law and my son taking over the company. I'm starting to back out in some of the responsibilities. I used to be president and CEO, but as of January of this year, my business card now says founder. So I even had to give up my email address that I've had since email was created because they wanted it as a promotional tool. I also have 10 grandchildren, and number 11 is on the way. So I'm trying to build a legacy to influence them to follow Jesus. I have 4 children that have those currently 10 grandchildren, and my wife and I instilled in them a path of being a responsible citizen and following God and honoring God. And they are teaching their children that today. So I am a resource to help them continue that until I'm no longer here. Legacy to me is all about influence. It's all about influencing, whether monetarily or mindset, of how you want to be a positive impact on the future generations.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, Randy. Well, first of all, our condolences for you with your dad, but he's an angel now, and he's left you so much golden nuggets that you're passing on. So
yes. And the way it all happened, it wasn't a shock. We knew it was coming. We just didn't know when. So thank you for your sympathies.
Yes, we are here. Like I said, we are here, as I always call ourselves when we have this show, as a family too. So we have to make sure that we're, have each other's backs on that. And I love how you talked about how not only a legacy, you mentioned some about values. And I feel like that's very, very important especially now, with the generation coming in. Because I have to say for myself, I see there's a bright light with our young people somewhere, but sometimes the bright light goes a little dim, and I'd be like, okay, let me get my well, now they call me elder. I'm like, really? Okay. I'm Elder Barbara at my job. And it's funny to hear that because I didn't used to. But anyway, so I said, okay, if they're gonna give me elder as a title, I have to walk into it. And that's where the values come in at. When somebody can say, you know what, Barbara, I didn't realize that, or thank you for. They say correcting. I said, I don't want to say correcting. You're learning. You're growing. I did it. Hey, I'm not perfect. I made some mistakes when I was younger. So I just like when you said values, Randy, because a lot of us, that's a legacy passing down. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because being an influence to someone is all about adding value to others. And whether it's in our job or career, or it's in our other aspects of our life, our goal should be always to add value to others. And in adding value to others, a saying that I don't know if I coined it, but I'm also very involved in my community. I live in a town of about 500 people here north of St. Louis, Missouri. And I always say I want to be part of the answer rather than part of the problem. And that kind of drives what I do and how I try to affect people's lives.
Yes. And you're doing a wonderful job. Wonderful job. So now I want to go to Miss Ari about legacy in your world, lady.
So, well, first, Randy, my condolences for your dad. That just kind of, I'm a daddy's girl, so that just did something to my little soul just now hearing that. It just makes my heart go out to you, and my prayers too for you and your family right now. But I think impact is not, my thoughts are not a lot different than everyone else's that has shared. I would say two things I think about when I think about impact, because I think about like what I would want my kids to know about me that I would like for them to pass down would be that God was first, and that you were about his business first, and that you looked at how you could impact the world. And part of impacting the world is for that kingdom business. And so what did that look like? And so for me, I would love for them to remember that it looked like empowering others, that it looked like being kind, that it looked like helping those that couldn't help themselves, that it looked like, doing what Jesus asked us to go do. So I think that that's the main thing. And then just that family is so important because, I'm a nurse also, like I'm a registered nurse. That's my, went to school for job, my big girl job. But I've held a lot of patients' hands at the end of their life. I've never, ever heard a patient say they wish they worked more hours. Never. I can't. Of everything I've always heard holding their hands was, I wish my kids were here. I wish I had spent more time with my family. I wish I had took that vacation. I wish that I had did the things I dreamed of. It was lots of those types of things. And so I would really want my children to live a life of no regrets. That needs to be part of the legacy. Do the things that God asked you to do so that you do not have to regret the things that you missed or didn't do.
That was a mic drop. I loved it. I love how you brought it, Queen, when you talked about when you're holding somebody's hand and the last thing is like, well, I should have worked 1,200 more hours this week. That's not even in your sight. It's like, wow, I wish, my loved ones here. I hope they're okay. I want to make sure stuff like that. Or did I get the chance to see the Pacific Ocean? Just travel. People, you start thinking about that more so than, okay, I'm supposed to work 40 hours this week. I need to work how many more? So thank you for bringing that up. And it goes all around that legacy. Because I know some people leave legacy of work. And what I mean by that is, my mother, I have to say it, she was a workaholic. I love what she instilled in me to being a worker, but she worked. Sometimes I say, Mom, can you take a break? No, I gotta work. So she says, ingrained in me. We did it. My sister did it. I was like, okay, we need a little mixture of balance somewhere. So yeah, even with that could be a legacy of its own. But I'm glad that we pull out the things that are even more important. So thank you for saying that. So Queen Natalie, I know you Miss Legacy Queen here. So
yeah. So to me, about 6 years ago, I had a near-death experience, and that I was already publishing authors' books, but I wasn't myself. And so after my near-death experience, it completely shifted my mindset of legacy. And what made me think was I didn't have those words left for my daughters. I didn't have those words of wisdom of going through, say, your first baby, your wedding, your, whatever pieces of life that you think you're going to be there. And, it's sad, but there's a statistic that said over 60% of the world will leave with their life experiences, their wisdom, their business knowledge, because they don't take that time, their stories, their traditions. If I don't know if you have children or how you celebrate different holidays, but in our family, we have many, like say, Christmas traditions, and our family looks forward to them. So if you remove the person that is, say, baking those cookies that everyone's looking forward to, if that recipe is not documented or written down somewhere, because sometimes it's up here, right? And then that can't be carried on. Or sometimes there's traditions that are carried on and you don't even know why. And I have a quick little story. There's a mother and daughter getting ready for Thanksgiving, and they're getting the ham ready, and the mother is chopping off both ends of the ham. And the daughter says, "Why do you do that?" And she goes, "I don't know. Grandma's always done that." And she said, "Well, let's call Grandma and find out why." And so they call Grandma, and Grandma goes, "Oh, well, my dish was only this big and the ham never fit, so I would just cut off." So they're carrying on a tradition that doesn't even need to be carried on. But sometimes we want to carry on those traditions because there's a meaning behind. And so in Gifts of Legacy, I encourage people to think about your daily life, make that legacy list so you don't live with regrets. And then Randy, what you said, I love that, being an influence to your grandkids, but it doesn't have to stop when you're gone. Get their baby pictures, hold them up, press Zoom, record, and tell the memories that you have of you and them, say, riding on the tractor or, milking the cows or whatever you do with your grandchildren. And they can have that to show their children. So your wisdom and your words can live on far beyond yourself.
Right.
Wow. Wow. Does anybody want to add to Natalie? I love the story. I heard that story before about that.
Yeah.
I was going to say too, I love what you mentioned about the legacy list, making a legacy. I never thought of that. That's really,
So we often hear bucket list, and a bucket list is great, but a legacy list can be everything you want to achieve, what you want to be remembered for. You can't say, I want to be remembered as a community, partner, if you never go out in the community and do anything, right? So you have to think about what you want to be remembered for, but then put those action steps into place so you will be remembered for what you want to be remembered for.
Definitely. So I want to, before we get into some other good tips and stories about legacy, thinking about legacy, let's get some tips from this really, really quick video and we'll come back. So if you're just chiming in, you're here at Let's Talk Fabulous, and we're talking about what is legacy to you. We have these wonderful panelists today, and they're giving us their genius, their expertise on what they think and what's really important when you're thinking about legacy. And we talked about values, we talked about traditions, we talked about health and how we can change the trajectory of that. Doesn't have to always stay how it is. Just like that pan and ham, like I said, get a bigger pan, you'll be okay. Let's stop the madness here, right? And then also just really cherishing, the generation that came and taught us certain things. There's one thing real quickly, legacy that my family does. We have those, I forgot those skillets. They're back in line.
Cast iron.
Yeah, the cast iron skillets. I think I have 2 of them now. I did have 5, but then through, the world of me moving around and my mother passed and stuff. But I always I said, I got to keep at least 2. I had to keep it because that was a legacy for us. Found out every family member has one of those irons. And just to keep it moving. And I know people are like, well, it's a pan, it's an iron, Barbara. I said, but it's a legacy in our family.
Yep.
I can see Dr.
It's
Cheryl.
also great for your health because that cast iron pan, when you prepare things like spaghetti sauces or you put greens into that pan, it helps to pull the iron out of the pan and actually enriches your diet.
Yeah.
See, I knew Dr. Cheryl would know that. That's awesome.
See, that's why our grandmama and them lived so long. I knew it was
That's right. They knew what they were doing.
We need to listen to our grandparents and beyond.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. So I want to ask this question about basically, when we come to legacy and talking about building an influence and leaving a lasting impression like we talked about. So I know sometime, when we're leaving a business or maybe money or something like that, I want to ask the question, how can that really change or pivot when you're talking about legacy and the values? So we talk about values, right? But then there might be some things that might come against it, like some conflicts. How do you handle that and still making sure that you're leaving that legacy that you want to leave? Anybody want to take that off?
I think that one of the biggest conflicts that often comes up with businesses is we have our children come up behind us and they're not interested in going into the family business. And that is absolutely fine. Each one of us has our own path, our own journey, and you shouldn't force the child into the business because you want to create that legacy. You want something to go forward. And even if the child doesn't go into that business, the business is still an asset. So that asset can be leveraged to help the child get into another business that they may be interested in. And then you've got diversified business. And now you've got 2 businesses that you can pass on. So we have to learn how to leverage businesses to create other things. And that, again, creates legacy.
Definitely. Thank you, Queen. That's so important. I was just thinking about when you said that. My mother had a business, but it wasn't a business that I wanted to get into. And she wanted me to take on. She did for 20 years, and then she owned a lounge. And I was like, I'm not into it. And she's like, you got to do this. You got to take it over. Who else is going to do it? And then I'm an only child, so that didn't help. And I was like,
Get past the buck there.
thank God for a cousin. But anybody else want to add to that about the conflict, when you're leaving legacies?
Sure. I guess I can. Yeah, I have 2 different things with our family farm. Of course, my dad was in a nursing home for a number of years, or a couple of years, but we set up our farm back 10 years, over a decade ago. And Dad pretty much gave me the blessing of Jacob, essentially. When Jacob was blessed and such, but I am the oldest of my family. I have a brother and a sister, and I became the patriarch of our family, and we get along great, and we look after each other. All of my kids and their kids, my sister's kids, love each other. My brother doesn't have any kids, but we are a cohesive unit, and we started that a long time ago we have a good relationship. And then on the other aspect of in my business, My company, Soul Right Consulting Services, will soon we'll be celebrating our 38th year in business, and I'm turning over the company to my son-in-law and my son. But my son-in-law is the CEO now, and my son is the COO. And we had some bridges to cross in order for my son to be okay with that. He was, he has my last name and I'm the dad. Well, we had to travel that. We had to get through that inertia that, okay, just because you're my son doesn't mean you get to be the ultimate boss. My son-in-law is more equipped. It's not that one is lesser than the other. It's one fits better with one than the other. And it took us a process of getting that accomplished, that now they are the best of friends. They work cohesively together. But you can't take all of that for granted.
Yeah, that was well said. Natalie, did you have?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Randy, that you hit the nail on the head, where if you take care of my motto is don't leave a mess, leave a legacy. But if you take care and document your final wishes and bring it out into the light, it really helps not to have those conflicts afterwards. And
Right.
People say, no, they would want it this way or that way. And one of my products that's going to be coming out in the next couple months is called My Legacy Vault. And that's exactly for that. And it's your passwords to your computers and, all the things that you don't think about, which cards are on automation every month that they need to know to shut off, and who's storing your, if you're storing all your photos in the Apple cloud, say, someone needs to know and get those off of there. And that's one of the other things that I show people how to secure their photos, their videos, their memories for their lifetime in 100 years and not pay month after month, because Apple's not going to call you and go, oh, I'm sorry you died. I'm going to keep your photos forever. They're not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing against Apple.
I know you said, let me put that out there real quick.
I have an Apple.
But you said a wonderful quote, like Tamara said in the thing about don't leave a mess, leave a legacy. And I love that. Mm-hmm. That's your quote. Take that, run with it, post it. I always tell people. But yeah, I love that. So anybody else want to add, when it comes to conflict, when you're talking about legacy and, your values compared to now, you got to make sure that continues on.
I think I'd kind of like to add to what Natalie said about the vault thing, because my mother did a wonderful thing. And, we always kind of thought it was silly and everything, but she wrote everything down and she told us where everything was. And she was very specific about what she wanted. We didn't have a tremendous amount, but she did leave some things. And oftentimes when someone passes, it turns into a family mess because everyone comes in like vultures to take stuff. And my mom said, everything goes to you and your brother, split evenly, other than a few things that she, was very specific about. And what you decide to do with them after that belongs to you, whether they go to your children or whoever else. But anybody that comes at you saying, well, she would have wanted me to have, no, she specified exactly what she wanted to happen with everything. The more specific you are about that, the less messy your passage is.
Yes.
Can I jump in and say one more thing here?
Sure.
That's amazing. And your mom's a very smart woman. The thing that sometimes happens is you can be organized and you can have that will in a closet, in a shoebox, in the back corner, and somebody must know where your estate planning or all your important documents are together. And so make sure that you have that person or people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's funny you said that. It's funny you said that, Dr. Cheryl, because it just reminded me when my husband's mother passed, and she just had so much stuff in her apartment. And I was like, oh, so I kept saying, I said, when she gets her wings, we're all going to be just kind of in a chaos. And it was, and I spoke it out, and it happened. And people were fighting. I mean, when you're fighting over one record, it's like, really, this is where we're at right now.
Yeah. I'm in the process of passing the baton in my family because my mother did write it all down. It was very specific, but she was absolutely funny with it because it is like a scavenger hunt to get to it because she wanted to make sure that, nobody just inadvertently came across it and, went into the safe deposit box or this, that, or the other thing. So, I mean, there are so many places that I have to go before I inevitably get to where I'm going. I'm like, oh, I really have to pass this just in case something happens to me. They'll never find any of it.
Mm-hmm.
That was smart. She made it fun too at the same time. Want to get to some comments here. Mrs. Lawana, hey Lawana, she's here today watching. She said legacy can also be translated in sharing family values and remembering the stories of the giants who have paved the way for us. We don't share their stories, who will? That's powerful. Right. That is powerful. Anybody want to comment on that? That was a powerful.
Well, not only share them, get them recorded. So you can share them, with your kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Definitely. Anybody else want to add to that or anything?
I'll add to that. I think for me, that was how I found out the most about my grandparents is the stories, because both of them are deceased. So the stories that my dad and my aunts told me was how I found out, oh, wow, my grandparents were entrepreneurs. Oh, wow, they own businesses, in the part of, when things were segregated and how they were able to navigate that and what did that look like. And my dad taking me to say, here, this is where the building used to be, or look at this old building. This is the building. And I'm like, whoa, this is real. Or what happened when grandma, why was she so superstitious? And so all those different stories of those things is also how you find out who you are. And so even if your kids decide they don't want to do the same business, what was the principle of the business? What was the reason why it started? Is that the thing that they keep going? So for my grandparents, it was a restaurant. Nobody wanted to keep the restaurant going, but the spirit of entrepreneurship is what stayed in the family. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, those stories does answer some of the questions, like you said, on the reason why certain things were left. So that's wonderful. I'm glad you brought that up, Ari. Well, before we Randy, did you want to make a comment real quick?
Yeah, at my dad's funeral a couple of weeks ago, I actually stood at the graveside and spoke. It was kind of, I do some public speaking or quite a bit, and that was the hardest 5-minute public speech I've ever made in my life, because my dad was he was my best friend and my hero, which didn't occur until I was in my early 20s. But then later on at the celebration of life, I told a few stories that no one else knew but me, and I'm going to continue telling those stories and the stories I remember, and you're right. Yeah, I need to write these down, because after I'm gone, those stories will be gone if I don't write them down.
Yeah, very important. Very important. So now that we're talking about legacy, we're coming to the end of this month. This month is celebrated as Black History Month, and that's a lot of legacy, a lot of facts that a lot of people are learning. In all different races. So I love how this gives you a chance to kind of just dig a little bit deeper. So we're going to have this quick quick video to just give us a little bit facts about Black history. So all those vaccinations when I was like 3 years old, now I know where it came from. Thank God I didn't get any chicken pox or anything. So I had to say okay to that. But yeah, just learning. I always tell people we're always for learning and growing. And it's really nice to know the culture, know where things came from, invented from. And that's what I really love about digging deep. So that's another legacy. That's something that we need to continue on, something that your family or friends or anybody out there can learn and just grow with them with that.
Well,
So
if I may add, to kind of combine Black History Month with the topic today, one of my heroes is George Washington Carver, who was a great agriculturalist and he was very instrumental in advancing agricultural research. So he's very honored in our agricultural community for his contributions.
Yes. Awesome. So I want to get into, because of time, I want to kind of talk about the world's changing, and we're in 2024, which it's funny. I was talking today. I had to lift a video out there to get people to come join our show today, and I was talking about how when I graduated from grammar school or grade school, I didn't know which word it is nowadays, and I said 19, and they were like, and let's just say there was no computers. We were having typewriters. There was no data processing, none of that kind of stuff. And a lot of the people on some of the panel understand where I'm coming from. So give me a high five on that. But now that we're from there, now we're in 2024, and we know that we want legacies to remain relevant, okay, across generations. So, some of the things we're talking about right now, how do we take steps in adapting, okay, what the new generation is talking about, but then still keeping the norm expectations that we're looking for them to keep it going? What are your thoughts on that?
I'll jump in. I think I'm probably the youngest one on here right now today, but I'm usually the baby of the group everywhere I go. But what I will say for my generation that I will say is that we have to remember that the stuff that we're doing is not new, that it's different players, but it's the same principles. Like it's all the same stuff. And so if we can't respect that they've been there and done that, it might have looked different, like literally different, but the principles of the thing is the exact same. So you still have like a lot to learn from those who've already been there, did that, even if they don't do it that way anymore. But what principle was born out of that, that created the way we do it now, because all of it ends up being linked together.
I agree 100%. Yeah. I want to share this. This is a book that was written by my grandmother. She's still alive, and she's 104 and a half. And she's one of the smartest ladies I know. And I love to sit with her and just hear her stories of how she had to live raising 8 children. There's no refrigerators back then, it's a hole in the ground lined with ice. And we look at what you said, what carries down from that. I have a refrigerator, so I'm blessed like that. But the hard work ethic and not afraid to do something that you're uncomfortable with. And that was my grandma. And there's a picture of her, and she wrote, it's a thin little book, but these are words just to my family. Nobody else can get this book. And that's one idea, whether it's through a journal, through videos, recording yourself, telling those stories, telling the stories of your grandparents and what you remember, and telling stories of your first date, when you got married, were you nervous? Things that will go with you when you go, and it's something you can share.
Yes. Wow. First of all, 104 years old. That's some people said in the comment, I think they said that's a legacy of its own.
Right. She's still going.
Still going and still teaching and still showing up for everybody. That is amazing. So wow. Wonderful. I want to go back to what LaWanda put a good point here. There is nothing new under the sun. Advice always remains relevant. We must learn the art of translating messages so that that they are heard in the language of our children and future generations.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when I see certain, like, well, they said I'm the elder again, and I see people that are in their 20s and, younger 30s, and they say some things. I said, oh, we said that, but we just said it in a different way. So that's nothing new. Yeah, that's nothing new. We did that already. But then I don't want to say it's too harsh like that, because they were like, well, okay, whatever, then they start getting this little, and I said, okay, let me share. I understand where you're coming from. I got to rephrase how I say it, because I want them to still feel like they can come to me and we can all talk, just because, we have different how we say it, but it's still the same. So I love that part of it. So anybody else want to add to, how to really make sure that, with the change of the world, that we still keep things relevant and moving forward, even with legacy?
Well, I think it is important to continue to share the past with the young people, so that they learn from the history, and so that we don't keep reinventing the wheels, because there are things that have been done before. So why figure out how to do them again when that was already figured out? You can take the past and polish it off and shine it into something brand new, and then add to it to give it your flavor. I mean, kids do it all the time. That's why we continuously have all of these fads. And, as older adults, we may look at the young people and say, what are they thinking? Well, remember, our parents said that about us before us, and our parents' parents said it about them, and our children will say it about their children. And I never forget the time when I think my daughter was about 26, and she was talking about a group that was younger than these. And she said, these kids these days. And I was just like, really? Really? But we do need to tell those stories and carry them forward and promote growth off of them, because, we have heritage behind us, and everything that we do today was built off of the backs of ancestors.
Right. Yeah. I like to connect the past with the present. We do things today because of why things were done the way they were in the past, much like you just said. And when you make that connection of why the present is the way it is because of the past, and we've hopefully improved things from the past. And so it's not one versus the other. It's a fluid movement throughout time.
Yes, definitely.
And one of those fun facts is that a lot of what was done in the past, we are now able to scientifically prove the efficacy of it. Those ancestors knew what they were talking about, and they had, years and generations of experience. We talk about evidence-based everything. They were the evidence. They did the same things over and over for, a couple hundred years. And then that wasn't quite working. So they made adjustments to it. And, if Joe ate the berry off of the bush and dropped dead, well, then everybody else know, well, we probably shouldn't eat that berry. So, they learned things along the way, and they did their own scientific investigation of sorts. But now we are looking, using our fancy scientific methodologies and saying, well, they knew a thing or two.
Definitely. You were talking about the berries on the bush. I know my mother and everybody got on us about the oven and the stove, and okay, you over there touch it. My mother would tell me the opposite. She said, okay, go over there and touch it. I was like,
right?
She said, yeah, you go over there and touch that stove. Have fun. And then I'm like, She said, okay, you'll never forget that, will you?
Right?
I mean, just little things like that, like you said, are things that added on to say, and then to, move forward in your life. I love that. So I want to ask, just before we wrap up, any pivot moments that in your legacy building. So I know everyone's building some kind of legacy journey right now, and hopefully you are in any area that you're doing that we're talking about right now. How does it influence your approach to leaving the lasting impact? So while you're building it, how has, your approach been going with that so far? Anybody want to add or give their little journey of that?
Well, again, I'm dealing with a cancer, and I'm in remission. I've been in remission for 5 months now. But when you are faced with your own mortality, it's a mindset reset. You get a download, and that download tells you the importance of creating that legacy in this moment, because tomorrow may never come. So don't put it off until tomorrow. Everything you do right now, today, is the legacy that you'll leave behind.
Yeah.
So live your legacy, love your life, live your legacy, and let that be what you pass.
Yeah. I love
I would
that.
say too, when you look at your daily life, what you do, what you take time for, we often say, oh, I'm so busy to go cook a good meal, so I'll just grab something or drive through the fast food. Those choices end up hurting you in the past. So the legacy and the life that you want to live will stay good if you every day make those good choices and learn what works for you. Because sometimes we get caught on that hamster wheel of life and we're like, why am I at this job? Or why am I in this relationship? Stop and look and go, if I fast forward and now I'm 80 and I'm still in this relationship, am I going to be happy? So take charge of your life and make the changes where you need to, so you can look back with no regrets and have that legacy life that you want to live and be remembered for.
Love it. Love it. I love it. And, like that's almost goes into the leading by example too, because, you're showing people that you don't have to deal with whatever that's in your life. You can move forward. You can make a change. You can make a choice. And I like that, Natalie, when you said that about that. And also I want to go back to Dr. Cheryl, congratulations on, on your, being in remission for this long. So that's, yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yes. So now we're going to play, and I already told our panelists, and I know Dr. Cheryl came just a little on the tail, but I play a game called 30 Seconds. So the 30 seconds game is you have 30 seconds to leave any lasting thoughts about what you think about with legacy. And if you go over 30 seconds, I'm going to pull you out the middle. But love me still. Please love me. It's out of love. So we're going to start with, Queen Ari.
If I can find the unmute, because clearly I couldn't see. I think that last thoughts would just be, make sure that you leave people better than how you found them. If doing that and making it about impacting others, it becomes about that love walk that was already mentioned earlier today.
Nice. I will say that take a look at your everyday, make sure that you're living your best legacy, but then take the time to impact the people that are most important to you, and then preserve what you can through video, books, audios, and just have that to be shared for generations.
Building a positive legacy requires intentionality. And with that intentionality, you can put legs to your legacy as you pass on your understandings, beliefs, and other aspects of your legacy. You can push it on to others so that they can continue it forward beyond you.
Awesome. And Queen Dr. Cheryl.
Live, love, laugh fully. Today is all you've got. Your health is your wealth. Pass it forward. Love the life that you're living, and live big.
Powerful. Thank you so much. I told you it's going to be an awesome panel because they have the passion. You can feel it. I can feel it. I can sense it. And I just want to listen. I want to leave just one thing that another person, Love the Queen, that left in the comments, and I was trying to look for it, but she was talking about footprints, leaving footprints in people's heart. And I think it was Lisa Brown. And I thought that was so powerful because it's a saying that I love. And I know I keep forgetting, it's bad how I keep forgetting the person, how she said, people you can say things, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. And I know somebody knows the quote of that, but people are always going to remember how you make them feel. And that's the biggest thing that I see. You know, you can leave this, you can leave that, you can try to leave everything. But when you make a person feel a certain way where they feel good about themselves, where they love themselves, that to me is a legacy of its own. And that's powerful, because love should always be the point of what we do in our lives. So thank you so much, panelists, for coming on. You know, listen to my ask. You know, I was like, can you come on, please? I did beg a little, but I just want to leave that with everybody. And again, we'll be back next week with another topic. Our host next week will be Kim, our wonderful Queen Kim O'Neill, and she'll be bringing the topic to Let's Talk Fabulous. But always remember, no matter what, you are fabulous, and always talk fabulous to others, because we need to encourage each other. See you next week.
I want to say thank you for joining us today and welcome you back next Sunday as we once again are joined by a panel of subject matter experts that will explore and focus in on our fabulous lives. Until next Sunday.